My wife emptied our joint bank account while I was unconscious in the hospital. I deserve this after everything I've done for you, the message read. I replied with a single thumbs up. When I was discharged the following day, I didn't go home. My name's Ethan Miller, 47 years old and 24 years behind the wheel of a semi. Not the most glamorous life, but it paid the bills and kept Laura in the lifestyle she never appreciated. I'd been feeling that tightness in my chest for weeks. Just stress, I told myself. Just the long hours and bad roadside coffee, until I couldn't ignore it anymore. Somewhere outside Denver, the pain got so bad I had to pull over. Called 911 myself. They airlifted me to Cheyenne, Wyoming. Turned out I wasn't having a panic attack. My heart was shutting down. I remember the doctor's face before everything went black. "We're losing him," she said. "Not exactly what you want to hear right before you pass out." 2 days later, I woke up with tubes in my arms and a stent in my heart. The nurse told me I'd flatlined twice. Said I was lucky. I didn't feel lucky when I checked my phone. There was only one message from Laura. We'd been married 17 years. No kids. Just a mortgage in Cheyenne and a lot of quiet dinners when I was home between hauls. The message had a screenshot of our joint account. Balance, $0.00. Below it, she wrote, "I deserve this after everything I've done for you. My emergency fund, my truck maintenance account, my retirement cushion, all gone. I should have felt something. Rage, maybe. Instead, I just felt tired. Tired in a way sleep couldn't fix." I sent her a thumbs up emoji. Nothing else. When the doctor came in, he told me I needed to rest. Avoid stress. No driving for at least 6 weeks. He asked if someone was picking me up tomorrow.
Yeah, I lied. That night, I made a call to my brother Alex.
He lived on the other side of town. Hadn't spoken to him in months. Not because we were fighting, we just lived different lives. "Need a favor," I said. "Name it," he answered without hesitation. "Need a place to crash for a few days, and I need you not to tell Laura." There was a pause. "She doesn't know you're alive." "Oh, she knows," I said. "She just doesn't know I'm not coming home." I met Laura at a diner outside Salt Lake City. She was stuck with a dead battery, and I was the guy who stopped to help. Back then, she looked at me like I was some kind of hero for knowing how to use jumper cables. Funny how that works. Things that impress people at first just become expected later on. We got married 8 months after that. Quick, but not reckless. I was 32, she was 29. Old enough to know better, young enough to believe in something. She never liked that I was gone 3 weeks out of 4. But the money was good, and she liked what it bought. I'd call every night, from whatever state I was passing through. Sometimes the conversations lasted an hour. As the years went on, they got shorter, 5 minutes of updates, then just checking in. Last couple years, it was mostly texts. "Made it to Phoenix. All good here." Looking back, there were signs. She stopped asking when I'd be home. Started taking trips with friends I'd never met, but I trusted her. That's what marriage is, right? Trust. My brother Alex helped me into his guest room. He's a mechanic, works locally, divorced once, knows something about the ways people can disappoint you. "You should eat something," he said. I wasn't hungry. I was thinking about the house I'd bought, about the refinancing I'd done. 4 months earlier, when rates dropped, Laura had said she was too busy to come to the signing, so I handled it myself, put it only in my name since my credit score was better. She never even asked to see the paperwork. There was also the medical power of attorney I'd set up last year, after my buddy Mike had his stroke, and his girlfriend couldn't make decisions for him. I got worried. My nephew Jason, Alex's son, helped me with it. Law student, smart kid. He made sure everything was in order. "Does Laura know you're here?" Alex asked, as he handed me a sandwich. "No," I said, "and we're going to keep it that way for a bit." She took everything. I nodded. "What are you going to do?" I took a bite of the sandwich. Didn't taste like anything. "I'm going to get some rest. Doctor's orders." But that night I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, remembering all the little moments where Laura had seemed distant, checking her phone under the table, changing passwords, moving money between accounts for better interest rates. I'd been blind, but not anymore. On my 3rd day at Alex's place, I got a text from our neighbor Maria. "Haven't seen you around. Everything okay? Laura's got some guy over. Thought you should know." I sat with that for a long time, didn't respond. Just let it sink in. Later that afternoon, I drove with Alex to the bank, not our regular branch where Laura and I were known, but the main office downtown, asked to speak with a fraud specialist. Showed them the text message with the screenshot, explained I'd been hospitalized. Unconscious, that the withdrawals happened without my knowledge or consent. The woman behind the desk kept her face neutral. Professional, but I could see it in her eyes. Maybe a little anger on my behalf. Mr. Miller, we can start a fraud investigation, but given that it's a joint account, and your wife has equal access, it may be difficult to assess. I understand. I cut in, but I'd like to try anyway. She nodded. Started typing on her computer. We'll need records from the hospital confirming your stay, particularly documentation of when you were unconscious or incapacitated. Not a problem, and you should know if this becomes a criminal matter. The police will get involved. I looked at her. Through the windshield I watched a mother with 2 kids buying ice cream from a convenience store. Normal life going on all around me. Want anything? Alex asked. I shook my head. Back at his place I made 3 phone calls. First to my dispatcher telling him I needed extended medical leave. Second to the credit union, where I kept a small business account for my independent contracting jobs. Third to a lawyer friend of Alex's. I need to know where I stand, I explained. With the house, with the accounts, with everything. The lawyer, Sam, agreed to meet the next day. I hung up and pulled out my laptop, went into accounts. Laura didn't know existed. Checked the status of investments she'd never asked about. Not because I was hiding anything from her, but because she'd never shown interest in the boring parts of our finances. While I was doing that, another text came through. From Laura this time. Where are you? Your truck isn't at the depot. Did they tell you I came by? I didn't answer. Ethan, this is ridiculous. You can't just disappear. We need to talk about this. I put the phone down. Alex looked over from the kitchen. She reaching out? Yeah. You gonna respond? I closed my laptop. Not yet. That night I took a walk around Alex's neighborhood. It was a clear night, stars visible even with the city lights. For the first time since the hospital my chest didn't hurt. Not physically anyway. I realized something during that walk. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even hurt. I was just done, and with that came clarity. Laura hadn't just taken my money. She'd given me my freedom. A week after I was discharged, I finally went home. Middle of the day when I knew Laura would be at her office job. Used my key. Walked in like I'd just come back from another haul. The house smelled different. Cologne that wasn't mine. Empty wine bottles in the recycling bin. 2 wine glasses in the dishwasher. I packed some clothes, my important papers, and the small lockbox from the closet where I kept my birth certificate and passport. As I was walking out I noticed the framed photo from our wedding day was missing from the hallway table. Back at Alex's I met with Sam, the lawyer. We sat at the kitchen table with papers spread out between us. The house situation is interesting, he said, reviewing the refinancing documents. Since you refinance solely in your name, with that medical clause, and given your recent cardiac event, you have a strong case for sole possession. What about the money she took? Sam frowned. That's trickier. Joint accounts typically mean joint ownership, but he tapped a finger on the bank statements. The fact that she cleared it out while you were medically incapacitated could constitute financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, especially since you have documentation that these were primarily your earnings. I nodded. And if I want a divorce? Wyoming is an equitable distribution state. Given the circumstances, I think we can make a compelling case for an arrangement in your favor. He gathered the papers. I'll draft some initial documents. In the meantime, don't contact her. Don't respond if she reaches out. Everything threw me now. The next day Laura showed up at Alex's house. I was alone. Alex at work. I heard her car pull up, but didn't look out the window. The doorbell rang 3 times before she started knocking. I know you're in there, Ethan. Your truck is parked down the street. Her voice was muffled through the door. You can't just hide. We need to talk about this. I sat perfectly still in the living room like a kid playing hide and seek. Eventually the knocking stopped. I thought she'd left until my phone buzzed. I'm sorry about the money. I was angry. You've been distant for months. I thought you were cheating. I found out about the house refinancing and panicked. We can work this out. Please talk to me. It was the first time she'd ever accused me of cheating. Projection probably. I turned the phone face down without replying. The next day Sam called with news. Laura contacted me. He said. She's hired Victoria Ross as her attorney. Victoria Ross, one of the most aggressive divorce attorneys in the state, known for going after everything. Houses, retirement accounts, future earnings. What does that mean for us? I asked. It means she's not playing around. Ross is already claiming that your abandonment after the hospitalization constitutes desertion. She's painting you as unstable, saying you disappeared without explanation and are refusing communication. I let out a long breath. So what now? Now we get ahead of this. I filed for an emergency hearing regarding the funds she withdrew. Judge Thompson is presiding. He takes a very dim view of taking advantage of medical situations. After hanging up, I stared at the wall for a long time. Then I made another call. To my nephew Jason. I needed his help with something specific. That evening I drove past our house. Laura's car was in the driveway alongside a silver BMW. I didn't recognize. I circled the block once, then headed back to Alex's. In the driveway I got a text from a number I didn't know. This is Victoria Ross. I represent Laura Miller. Any further surveillance of my client will be documented as harassment. All communication must go through proper legal channels. They were watching me. I was watching them. And now the gloves were off. 2 weeks after that first meeting with Sam, we had our day in court. Emergency hearing regarding the withdrawn funds. Laura was there with Victoria Ross, both in sharp suits. I wore the only tie I owned. The one I kept in my truck for unexpected funerals on the road. Judge Thompson was an older man with gray hair and reading glasses perched on the end of his nose. He reviewed the filings without expression, occasionally looking up at Laura, then at me. Miss Preta, Ross, he finally said. Your client withdrew the entirety of the joint accounts, while Mr. Miller was hospitalized for a life-threatening cardiac event. Is that correct? Ross stood. Your Honor, my client had every right to access those joint funds. Furthermore, Mr. Miller had recently refinanced their marital home solely in his name without Mrs. Miller's knowledge, which we contend was the first act of financial deception. The judge removed his glasses. I'm not asking about the house right now, Counselor. I'm asking about the timing of the withdrawal. Is your client aware that Mr. Miller was in the hospital when she took the money? Laura leaned over and whispered something to Ross. Ross cleared her throat. Yes, Your Honor. But my client was under extreme emotional distress, believing her marriage was ending. She acted to protect herself financially. The judge put his glasses back on. While unconscious from a heart attack, seems an unlikely time for Mr. Miller to end his marriage. He shuffled some papers. I'm ordering the funds frozen pending further proceedings. Neither party may access this money until ownership is determined in the divorce settlement. It wasn't a complete win, but it stopped Laura from spending any more. As we left the courtroom, Laura tried to approach me. Ross held her back with a hand on her arm, but not before Laura said, Ethan, please. There's so much you don't understand. I walked past without looking at her. Outside, Sam was satisfied. This is just the beginning. Now we start discovery. Discovery, the part where all the cards get laid on the table. A week later, Sam called me to his office. When I arrived, he had a folder waiting. We've got something, he said, sliding it across the desk. Inside was a bank statement from an account I didn't recognize. Laura's name was on it. The balance, £143, 789 tals. Where did this come from? I asked. Your nephew found it. Jason's internship at the credit union downtown gave him some insights. This account was opened 20 months ago. Regular deposits always just under $10,000. Just under the reporting threshold. Classic sign of hiding money. There's more, Sam said. The deposits align with your long-haul schedule. When you're gone, money goes in. I sat back. She's been planning this for almost 2 years. Sam shook his head. I don't think she was planning to leave you, Ethan. I think she was preparing in case you left her. Why would I leave her? I was working myself to death to provide for us. That's when Sam slid over another piece of paper. A credit card statement with a hotel charge from a place in Denver. Date: 4 months ago. I'd been in Albuquerque that week. The name on the reservation was Thomas Clark. Thomas. Our neighbor. The one who texted me about the guy at our house. Sam's face was grim. We think Thomas has been involved with Laura for some time. He was creating a false trail to make you suspicious while they were together. The betrayal wasn't just Laura. It was coordinated. Planned. Thomas playing concerned neighbor while sleeping with my wife. Laura draining our accounts while I was fighting for my life. I stood up. What's our next move? Sam smiled for the first time that day. That's up to you. But if I were in your shoes, I'd make sure they'd both regret ever thinking they could get away with this. I spent the next month living at Alex's, recovering physically while Sam built our case. We had a strategy now. Document everything. Gather evidence of Laura and Thomas's relationship. Prove the financial deception. My nephew Jason was invaluable. His position at the credit union gave us insight into financial patterns we wouldn't have seen otherwise. Nothing illegal. Just connecting dots that were already in plain sight. The account has another person with access, he told me one evening. Not a joint owner, but an authorized user. Thomas. I guessed, he nodded. And there's something else. They've started moving money. Smaller amounts to different accounts. They know we're on to them. I stared out the window. They're liquidating. Getting ready to run. That night I called Sam. We need to move faster. I agree, but we need to be careful. If we tip our hand too soon, they'll disappear with everything. I finished. So what do we do? Sam was quiet for a moment. We need leverage. Something that makes them think twice about running. The next day I drove to our house when I knew Laura would be at work. I didn't go inside. Instead I walked the property line, taking photos with my phone. The new fence Thomas had helped build last summer. The fancy landscaping that had mysteriously appeared while I was on a 3-week haul to Dallas. Improvements. Paid for with my money. Likely installed by Thomas. Increasing the property value of the home that was now solely in my name. I sent the photos to Sam, with a simple message. Documented. 2 days later, Laura's lawyer called Sam with an unexpected offer. Laura would return 50% of the withdrawn funds in exchange for 50% equity in the house. They're testing us, Sam said when he called to tell me. Seeing if we'll settle cheap. What do we tell them? Nothing yet. Let them sweat. Meanwhile, I made another move. I contacted my trucking company's HR department. Explained my situation. Asked about the disability insurance I'd been paying into for 22 years. You're entitled to 60% of your salary for up to 12 months, the HR representative explained. Given your cardiac event, and the doctor's restrictions, you easily qualify. I filed the paperwork that day. Another source of income that Laura didn't know about, wouldn't be included in any settlement discussions yet. The next week, I had Alex drive me past our house again. This time I noticed something new. A for sale sign on Thomas's lawn. He's cutting and running, Alex said. I nodded. Call Jason. An hour later, Jason confirmed our suspicion. Thomas had cleared out his accounts 2 days earlier. Nearly $100,000 withdrawn in cashier's checks. I called Sam immediately. We need to act now. Thomas is selling his house. Laura might be planning to go with him. Sam didn't hesitate. I'll file for an emergency injunction first thing tomorrow, freezing all assets, preventing property sales without court approval. The next morning, I woke to a text from Laura. We need to talk. Just you and me. No lawyers. I showed it to Alex. They're desperate, he said. I nodded. Good. I forwarded the text to Sam, who replied, Don't respond. Injunction hearing is at 2 p.m. At 1:30, I was walking into the courthouse when I spotted Laura and Thomas together in the parking lot, arguing. They didn't see me. I took out my phone and recorded them from a distance. 30 seconds of evidence showing their relationship. Something they'd been careful to hide from legal proceedings. Inside, Sam was waiting. I showed him the video. Perfect timing, he said. Judge Thompson is already in a mood today. I straightened my tie. Then let's not keep him waiting. Judge Thompson's chambers were smaller than the courtroom. Just the judge. The two lawyers. Laura and me. Thomas wasn't allowed in. He wasn't party to the divorce. The video of them together played on the judge's computer. No sound, but their body language said everything. Ms. Ross, Judge Thompson said when it finished, would you care to explain why your client has been declaring under oath that she has no relationship with this neighbor when video evidence clearly shows otherwise? Ross looked shaken. Your Honor, the nature of their relationship isn't relevant to the financial matters at hand. It is when financial fraud is being alleged. The judge turned to Laura. Mrs. Miller, are you planning to leave the state with Mr. Clark? Laura's face went pale. Let me rephrase. The judge continued. The court has evidence that you and Mr. Clark have been moving substantial sums of money, that Mr. Clark is selling his property, and that you withdrew funds from joint accounts while your husband was incapacitated. This suggests a pattern of deception and intent to flee. He looked at both lawyers. I'm issuing an immediate freeze on all assets belonging to both Laura Miller and Thomas Clark. Neither may leave the county without court permission. Additionally, he turned to me. Given Mr. Miller's medical condition and the evidence of financial exploitation during his incapacity, I'm granting temporary exclusive use of the marital home to Mr. Miller. Laura made a small choked sound. Your Honor, Ross began. But the judge held up a hand. The exploitation of a medically vulnerable spouse is something this court takes very seriously. Counselor, you're lucky I'm not recommending criminal charges at this time. Sam gathered his papers, trying not to look too satisfied. As we left, Laura caught my eye. For the first time I saw fear there. Not of me. Of consequences. 3 months after the hospital, I moved back into our house. My house now. The divorce was finalized faster than anyone expected. Laura didn't fight after the injunction hearing. Thomas had disappeared, leaving her to face everything alone. In the end, the judge awarded me the house, my truck, and 80% of our savings. Laura got her car and the remaining 20%. The secret account was split 50-50. But only after she paid my legal fees from her share. I never spoke to her directly again. Everything through lawyers. The last I heard, she'd moved to Denver. Starting over, I guess. I sold the house 6 months later. Too many memories. Bought a smaller place closer to Alex and Jason. Used some of the money to help Jason with law school. He's going to make a hell of an attorney someday. I don't drive long haul anymore. My heart can't take the stress, doctor says. Found work dispatching instead. Home every night. It's quieter than the open road, but there's something to be said for stability. Sometimes people ask if I'm angry about what happened. I'm not anymore. You can't control what others do. Only how you respond. Laura thought she was taking everything from me that day in the hospital. Instead, she forced me to fight for myself in a way I never had before. Last week I was cleaning out some old boxes and found our wedding album. Thought about throwing it away, but didn't. Just put it back in the box. It's part of my story now. Not the end. Just a chapter. The heart attack nearly killed me. The betrayal nearly broke me. But I'm still here. Changed maybe. Stronger. Definitely. Some lessons you learn the hard way. Some people you lose for good reason. And sometimes the life you rebuild is better than the one you lost.